Joining us now from Canberra is the former Resources Minister, Keith Pitt, Nationals MP from Queensland. Thanks for joining us, Keith. A big day for Queensland. You've got the opposition leader and the deputy opposition leader, both from the Sunshine State.
Well, it's great to be with you, Chris, and welcome to Fortress Queensland. To get described as a former minister, I'm a former electrician and former farmer and a former engineer and a former business owner. There's a lot of formers. But look, mate, the democratic process has shone through. I congratulate both of the new leaders in the Liberal Party and the National Party. And mate, as I said publicly, I always support the leader, and I supported the last one and the one before and the one before that, and I'll support the new one.
You had a pretty long party room meeting. What went on there?
Chris, you know the convention for us is we don't discuss what happened in party room, but quite clearly it took some time. But we now have a very strong deputy in Perrin Davey. I've got a lot of time for Perrin. I did a lot of work with her, particularly around water in the Murray-Darling in the previous portfolio. She's experienced, she knows her stuff, and she'll do a great job.
Well, we're seeing in that picture now Bridget McKenzie there on the right. Now, Bridget McKenzie is a senator. She's the leader of the Nationals in the Senate. So why isn't she the deputy? Why do you have another senator in Perrin Davey who's the deputy leader of the party? Who outranks between those two then, the Senate leader and the deputy leader, both in the Senate?
Oh, Chris, I've never professed to understand the black magic of the Senate for someone that sits in the House of Reps, where it's pretty straightforward. We have a debate and a vote. In the Senate, as you know, they do a lot of talking and some more talking, but it is the House of Review, and I'll leave them to their own deliberations. But that's basically done by a ballot for the Senate leadership by the Senate team, and the deputy leadership is by the entire Nationals party room.
Very, very interesting, isn't it? You've sort of got a double header there with Senator Davey and Senator McKenzie. Do you understand, though, who will outrank those two? I mean, for instance, when it comes to choosing portfolios, normally the deputy chooses their own portfolio. Will the Senate leader also be accorded that right?
Well, I'm not a member of the leadership team, Chris. I'll leave it to them to fight those things out. But look, to be honest, it's picking over the crumbs of opposition. We're here to stand up for the people we represent, the ones that voted and sent us to Canberra to fight for them. That's what I'll be focused on. It's what matters to the people that I represent and why they send me and have for a fourth term.
Well, I just want to point out something that David Littleproud said in his first press conference. I showed it in the opening sequence, but let's just have a look at this again to refresh our memory.
And this is not about the National Party lurching left or lurching right. It's using common sense and being in the sensible centre. That's where you win elections, not chasing extremities. And the National Party proved that when we signed up to net zero by 2050.
Net zero by 2050 is in the sensible centre. I would have thought that would have been the policy question to be decided after this election, whether the coalition should abandon that pledge, whether that pledge is what destroyed your policy differentiation from the Labor Party.
Chris, the Nats have had some difficult policy discussions over many decades, more than 100 years. You can look back to the gun laws under Tim Fischer. You can look back to Telstra, you can look back to the net zero discussion. But it's a matter for our room to work out what our policy positions are. Mate, I've always thought of us as a centre-right Christian Conservative party, one of the last in the country. And I stand by the values of the Nationals and what their brand stands for. It's one of the reasons I sit in that room.
But then that net zero by 2050 pledge must be up for grabs, mustn't it, after the election? Now, you've always been sceptical of it. Your colleague Matt Canavan has railed openly against it. Peter Dutton is likely to be a lot more practical rather than symbolic about these issues. So isn't it time for the whole coalition to review at least the timing of a net zero pledge?
Look, I think one of the things that happened over the campaign is we allowed Labor to campaign and to frame us around feelings and not facts. Everyone's happy to feel good about what we do for the environment, and they're happy to feel good about climate, and they're happy to feel good about a lot of other issues. But the facts are very, very different. We're just a 1% contributor. We've reduced emissions by 20% while we were in government and as part of that overall contribution since 2005. And there are better ways to do this, and I think the technology is the key. Look, I still struggle with this concept that 20,000 square kilometres of solar on such an enormous footprint is better for the environment than, for example, utilising nuclear technology or Healy coal-fired power stations combined with CCS. I think that they are the solutions. We need things that work. And when you look at what AGL's arguing about at the moment, Now, those companies are out there to make money. They'd be very happy to short the market.
Now, when it comes to this debate, are we going to hear more debate about Australia's proportional response to climate change and what our climate change policies can do, what we've already done? Because Dave Sharma was telling us here on this program last week that he shies, that so many politicians shy away from making those arguments because as soon as you inject some rational analysis into the debate, you're branded a denier. Now, I'm not blaming Dave Sharma. Leadership comes from the top. The whole of the coalition parties avoided those arguments right up to the election day.
Oh, Chris, I've been called all sorts of things. A denier might be one of the kindest. But you know what it's like in this game. If you're willing to step up and stand up for what you believe in, there'll be those who attack you from every single direction. I'm sure your friends on Twitter are going to town right now about this interview. But ultimately, we are elected to act in the national interest, to act in the interests of our constituents and to act for the country. It's why these roles, to be honest, are very, very important about who you send here. And I heard some of your commentary earlier about what are now known as Teals and these inner city seats. I think wait until their constituents see their returns dwindling from their superannuation funds, changes in the share market and its response, interest rates increasing because a Greens Labor government drives up taxes and reduces profitability. I think they might have a very clear change of heart then based on the facts.
And look, even with all those tills, we may still face bushfires, floods and storms. Something that I've just got a hunch. Thanks for joining us, Keith. I appreciate your time.
Hey, great with you.
Keith Pitt there, former Resources Minister. We'll be waiting to see whether he's on the front bench as the coalition reforms in coming days.